Spectrum presents A Feeling for the Forest, the second of two programs in which Tioke talks to Alwyn Owen about the bush and the resources it provides, about its conservation too, and about his own feelings as a Māori.
If you heard the first of these two programs, you'll know something of Tawhao Tioke's background, in which case you'll excuse this brief reintroduction. Tawhao was born in the bush, literally in the bush, of the Urewera country, one of the last great forested areas of the North Island. This is the home of the Tawhao people, the so-called Children of the Mist. From the Tawhao, and from his grandfather and uncle in particular, Tawhao learnt the forest law of his people and the culture of his tribe. When he became an ordained minister of the Presbyterian Church, he saw little conflict between Christianity and the teachings of the old people, essentially spiritual in nature. In his words, his Māoritanga hangs on the wall, always ready for use. Tawhao has become an expert on the bush, on its trees and plants, their medicinal uses and the food they provide. And this program, like the first, is about the bush and was recorded in the bush. So we rejoin Tawhao Tioke in the hills above Stokes Valley, near Wellington.
Now that's a hino. That's a hino. You see that berry? That's the tree there. Alright. This is the bread. Tawhao make their bread from this hino tree.
From the hino berries.
The hino berries, yes. What they do, to get a dough, you might have to fill up about 20 or 30 baskets. And fairly big. Look at the size. And to pick them and fill a basket, it takes a while to fill one basket.
Well, the berry is only it's less than half an inch in diameter.
This is very small, very small in comparison in Tawhao.
Oh, you'd get larger berries.
You get larger berries. Not as large as the olive, but some just about.
Now, how was the pulp taken off the outside then? How did you...
They crushed the whole thing.
They crushed the whole thing?
Trough,
kernel and all?
Yeah. It's tipped into the trough. A trough is carved out of a hino. That's the only trough they use for food processing, because it doesn't smell. It's something like the butter boxes that was made out of kahika. It doesn't smell, but the kahika is not as strong as for trough, for belting these stuff here. It's not as strong as this.
No, it's a soft wood, isn't it?
Yeah. So they carved the hino into a trough 4 feet long, and the basket of hino berries poured into it, and then they have these round-shaped stones, crushing them. And then at the end they sift the kernel, crushed kernel from the flesh. The flesh will go through the kernel. And what they do with the kernel, with their seed, the crushed seed, that's mixed with water and mixed with wild honey and left overnight. And that's the refreshment for the next day. Very sweet drink. And the flavour of the hino, very nice. But the bread, I've eaten the bread. Oh, brother.
Hard, isn't it?
Oh, very, very hard. But the flavour so beautiful.
So that's formed into what? Into sheets or biscuits almost?
No, it's like a round pudding. It's the old pudding they put in the scrim and put in boiling water. Yeah, well, that's the shape of the bread, but in hangi. It's wrapped. The bread is wrapped around with moku. Moku. Yeah. Here's moku.
That's this fern here.
Yeah. This is the leaf. They get the young leaf and it's wrapped around this round bread and stuck in the hangi, and it's cooked. And also, this is the early skirt before the pew-pew, the moku.
Oh, it was used for clothing.
Aye. The only trouble is now it's time to become a see-through. So you gotta renew them. And also, this is the New Zealand asparagus. Now, pickle.
Pickle. That's the young fronds.
Yeah. Well, they picked that.
They taste like asparagus, I'm told.
Yes, yes, very nice cold.
The hino, of course, was used for dye too, and still is.
Yes,
Tawhao, the bark.
The bark. Preliminary colouring for black. If you put the keke direct into the mud, the black mud, it takes a while, and it's not good if you leave it in the water for a while. It becomes fluffy. Whereas you start it off with the dye of the hino, and then into the black mud, it only takes about 24 hours This is the middle tree
Beautiful red berry.
for flavouring.
Beloved of the pigeons, am I right?
Yeah.
Cattle.
What we do, we pick the berries, and then we go and buy a chicken and stuff it with a berry full of venom. It become a pigeon. Goes
So it gives it the
through.
flavour, like
Yeah,
that.
go right through the chicken.
Mm.
Ah,
It's a beautiful tree, isn't it? Very
One, two,
thorny,
three of them.
ferny
aye.
foliage.
Oh yeah, the look of the tree in itself is beautiful.
Mm.
You see this tree? You know that tree, yeah?
Tawhao, is it?
Tawhao, aye. The Tawhao is one of the widely used tree in Tawhao in the early days. The berries is used for refreshment. Around about December, the berries are ripe. They peel the flesh off the berry, and they get enough into a pot, mix with water, and boil it. Put a bit of sugar in. Of course, they didn't have the sugar then, but today, very good. Put the sugar in, leave it cold for the next day for refreshment. The seed is washed and dried in the sun. It's really hard. That becomes their coffee. Not only that, that also took the place of the potato, cooked in the honey. They get them into an old flour sack, all the seeds, Tawhao seeds, and then cooked in the honey. And when it's cooked, very floury like a potato. That's the story of the Tawhao.
Are they still doing this in Tawhao?
I don't
Uruwara?
No,
They're not. No.
Oh, no. But we often talk about it whenever when I go back. I speak about it to someone my own age group. You know, I think you're wondering if any at home still thinking of you, and just to remind them of these things. Oh, they said no one do them. No one wants them. Over here's the things they call it's called in Tawhao, it's called a Tioke, a banana. It's really like a banana when it's ripe. It's sweet, but you got to be quick, otherwise the birds will beat you to it.
No, this is our cake here.
I got it knotted.
Ah, you've got it knotted around one of the fruit, have you? Now this climbs and straggles over gullies and up trees. It has long flex-like leaves, quite sharp.
Here's one over here, so there should be one over here. Oh, he's coming too.
What's the purpose of tying them, Tawhao?
The birds.
The birds.
In its early stage, the Maori come and gather them for the flowering stage. It's
What's
called
the tawhara?
tawhara. And they take that tawhara to feed the family. It's very sweet and sugary. And they take the succulent part that comes out, goes in between these. These were only that size then, just that
As
size.
big as your finger.
Yeah.
And now they're what, 6 inches long and 2.5 thick.
And these are left till May and June, they ripen. Now this one here is ripened.
Mm-hmm.
See the honey like
Yes.
oozing out of it?
The rats go for the tawhara too, don't they?
The rats go in October. November the rats finish
Mm.
and the man take over.
Now you're scraping off the outside there. The
Aye.
little green
Yeah.
seeds are they,
Yeah.
Tawhao?
All right. It's ripe now. You like to have a taste?
Yes, I would. Mmm. Sweet.
Good?
Mmm.
Wow.
Yeah, beautiful.
This time of the year, they come, the Maori come and pick them,
Mm-hmm.
take it home for the family.
It's beautiful, lovely and sweet.
This is how Kai Wharawhara got his name. Eat tawhara. Well, this is the reason why I knotted it. To stop the bird. If I didn't, you and I wouldn't have a... And it's good to let others, if you have friends, good to scrape and get a knife and slice and get so others can have a taste. So they know that they might learn. how important to preserve our forest, to look after them. It feeds us. So for us to care for it, for us to teach, so then they can teach their children, not to bring their axes here and hack everything. They've hacked keke and keke after keke here. When I see it all, you know, it's wrong. Not only that, I say to myself, well, they have gone and stopped us from eating our food, like pickle. They have stopped us, prohibited, and here they are, not teaching the children, their children not to cut the forest down. Well, now you see how important it's a food in itself. This is the Ngapuhi name, Patanga. I like their name, Patanga. I don't like the Tioke name.
Why is that now?
Oh, it refers to, you know. But Tioke is so blunt, I suppose. Well, they
Call a spade a spade.
yeah. Well, I like the Ngapuhi name, Patanga. Well, this is the keke. Also, the tuku panels, the materials are the keke.
For the weaving.
Weaving. Now, they stop us from breaking these stuff too, unless we're doing it for a real purpose. You know, every time you break, if you break that keke now, if I break that keke now, yeah. Next year, there'll be two there, two growing at the stem there. But they think when you break it, you're killing it. You're not. And that's what our people lived on this cave. This was their cave. And when they come, they do it with respect. When they go to the forest, they have a karakia first. Now, I did a little karakia for you and me back home, because I knew the day we were coming into the forest. So to clear the way for us, I did that for us. And this is what the old people did. Whenever you enter the bush to get medicinal plant, you must clear the road first, spiritually that is. 1943, I worked with a tohunga. She came to our area to help to clean up the VD problem. Some of the boys were going to the camp away from home and coming back with this disease. And one of the doctors in Whakatane made appeal to one of this tohunga. She was a woman, to help. And she replied, I remember her saying, in 1907 you people abolished, you Pākehā abolished tohungaism.
So the suppression of tohungas.
Yes. And she said, therefore, why come to me? But this doctor, being a Māori, and understood, he understood. So he spoke to this woman from his heart, and the woman understood. He said, right. So what he did, he fenced off one of the mariahs, and they brought these men there. And in the time she was in my area, in Waimana, I was the orderly to go to the bush to get her material. You know what she used? A bark of a rata. That's all I had to get for her. And she told me again, go to the eastern side of the rata and cut a big long bark. And I did. Put it in my sugar bag, rolled it up, put it in the sugar bag, and I brought it home. And then she said to me, now, I want a pig. Well, pigs are very, very dear. And all she wanted from that pig is the gall to go with that rata bark. And she boiled this. And then we have to drink. Everyone who lived in that place had to drink from it. And brother, it's harsh. Talk about harsh. Look, I'm glad we got family doctors today. They give us sweet things. It's really harsh. But she was turning them away, you know, sending them out. She was healing them. The secret there is the mixture and the words. The word. That was the secret. Well, that lady passed away. Even her sons don't know anything about it. I spoke to the sons. They both told me it wasn't given to them.
So that's just lost now.
That's lost. She didn't give it to me because I was only an orderly. I was only a young man too at the time. Perhaps if I had probed in a little, at that time, but I didn't. She might have spoken to me about it. And she was healing, and I saw the people that were healed. All things were, pus were breaking out from under the armpits and from under the eyes and under the legs and the palms. And she got that person showing the hand to the people. Clean as a whistle. And that's all she used. Rata bark in the wall of the pig. But we believe, too, the other part of it.
The spiritual side.
That went with her. Because I've spoken to the son, they both told me, nothing doing. I would like us to move up to this room. I want to tell you the story about the rimu, and it has a very important message to us. So let's move up to it.
Right. Ah, here he is. Lovely young Rimu.
Hi. Well, have you seen the biggest of them all? One of the big. You've seen a big rimu.
A big
yeah?
Rimu, yes.
Yeah. Well, that size rimu. In the early times, the Māori were afraid of kehua.
Ghosts.
Right. Or turehu.
Yes.
Very much afraid of them. They were their enemies. They did their work in a hurry, and so before sunset they all back in their little maraes and grouped together before the evil spirits move. They were all together to feel safe under the watchful eyes of the others, the company. Well, this, the Tawhao said, the message from Tana is this: teach the people to peel the bark off the rimu and burn it in their cooking fires. And that's the only tree with a peculiar smell in its smoke. Will curl up and cover the forest. And it hits the nostrils of these evil things. It keeps them at bay. This they did.
Keeps the kehua away.
Aye. So they lived happy. But many, many years, of course, the rimus were dying. Naturally, rim barked, you see. So the Tongan decided it was time they go back under these trees again and have a good look. So they came to that first tree. They introduced the idea. The tree had died, rotted. Piro. They looked at this tree. Kua mate. So one of them touched the tree. Rotten. So he said to the other Tonga, look, you chaps, let us surround this tree and let's scrape at it. See how far we can get. So they start scraping. Right around. Tree was just falling. Suddenly, they felt a heart. They went back to the wharewana. And one stood up and said, well, how the kupu our time was Tana's message to us. And one stood up and said, yes, nei te kupu our time. This is Tana's word. Rūrea taitea. Kia toi tū ko tai kākā. Rūrea, scraping away the rotten part. Taitea, rūrea, scrape away. And then they felt the heart. Kia toi tū tai kākā, the heart. Strip away that which is useless of life. Cultivate the best of life. So it became a message, a philosophy. And if you listen carefully to some speaker, whai kōrero, you might even hear one speaker quoting it. And that's where it comes from. A message that has been handed down. So this is one of the reasons why they look to the landscape. The majestic of the landscape hits them in the eye when they landed here. Here with the spirit of the Maker in the trees, majestic forest of Tane, the mountain. When they saw the mountain, they said, this became a proverb. When the mountain, he puke puke maunga e pikitia e te tangata, he puke puke moana e keina e te waka. He mana tangata, he tihi tangata, e kore e keina e te tangata, he tapu, he tapu, he tapu. You see, it's the glory of the majestic of the mountain that struck them. A mountain peak can't be scaled by man. The waves of the ocean can be topped by a canoe, but a human summit cannot be scaled by man, for man is tapu. We have to think twice when we come face to face with man, because he is one of us. So therefore we treat him with respect, because he's tapu. Tangat. Unlike the mountain, we climb the top of it to see the glory of creation. Mountains of the ocean have been conquered by our ships, by our canoes. But when you deal with the mountain of men, tapu. I was listening to the Corderos though at the opening of the
Tawhao.
but not enough proverb came out, not enough proverb.
This was the Ngati Toa meeting
Yes,
house, of course.
yes.
Korero.
You see, one speaker there, he was speaking, and right behind him, I could see these flax bushes. One of the philosophy on the Maori way of life came from the flax bush. You know, the proverb from a flax goes like this: "E pū awa I tanga harakeke, he rito whakakinga whāruarua." When the flax blooms, it brings forth a new rito, a new shoot, to filling the empty gaps of those who have passed on. Those are the leaves that broke away. We are, you and me, are the rito of our people. So you and I are filling in their gaps of your grandfather who have passed on, or of your father who may have passed on, or your many, many generations. So we are those little, you see. But Tūhoe themselves, this is part of their life, the bush. Even where the Tūhoe themselves live, these people called Tūhoe, you only got to go to their homes, to their birthplaces. They are very much surrounded, still surrounded by tāne. Unlike other places, you have bus streets right outside it, a taxi stand, but in Tūhoe, no, there isn't. Once you enter Tūhoe, you get that feeling, you know, by Joe, you may have a friend there, and you may be feeling hungry, and you'll say, by Joe, wonder what's he going to feed me? I hope they had really gone away from those rats, and you know, because Tūhoe Kaikiore means Tūhoe are rat eaters, you see, this sort of thing. But never mind, that is just by that. Those are just minor things. But every Tūhoe who are living in cities, they die to go to the bush. They find a little wee bush, they go in there just to spend an hour or so under the tree, the freshness of the tree. For them, it speaks for them. It speaks of their ancestors. It's like they're sitting there with them, because they gathered berries with their ancestors. They dig fern roots with their pakekes in those times when they spent. And those who are younger heard, night and day they heard of what went on before them in Tūhoe. And there's still a difference between the Tūhoes in the cities and others. I always say the Tūhoes, if they had the chance, they still go back to the hoo-hoo bugs. I like hoo-hoo bug myself. I like it. Despite what people say, oh, cannibal or whatever, it doesn't worry me, it doesn't bother me at all.
And you get back to the Orowera periodically, do you, Tawhao?
Very little. I'm afraid to say this, ashamed to say this rather. So this is where I come to, this bush where we are now.
This is your refreshment.
Yes, I come here to refresh myself, to think of these things, and while I'm doing this I feel I am at home. The forest spoke to us, to our fathers, and the philosophy came to us. And those of us who remember it, we share it with others. We share the stories of the fathers. We should be treated with respect. Every tree should be treated with respect. And I come here too when I have a feeling for home. I say to my wife, let's go to the bush. And I come here with my wife and grandson, and I teach my grandson over here. There are some nights
to the Orawera periodically, do you, Tawhao?
Very little. I'm afraid to say this, ashamed to say this rather. So this is where I come to, this bush where we are now.
This is your refreshment.
Yes, I come here to refresh myself, to think of these things, and while I'm doing this I feel I am at home. The forest spoke to us, to our fathers, and the philosophy came to us, and those of us who remember it, we share it with others. We share the stories of the bush with others. And the bush should be treated with respect. Every tree should be treated with respect. And I come here too when I have a feeling for home. I say to my wife, "Oh, let's go to the bush," and I come here with my wife and children and grandson, and I teach my grandson over here. There are some nights been sitting watching TV with my family, and I get the urge to come to the bush. 10 o'clock at night, I say to my wife, "I'm going to Stokes Valley." So my grandson, who is 9 years old, says to me, "Oh, I'd like to come with you, Granddad." I said, "Right, come on." 10 o'clock, we come up, we drive up, leave the car out there, and bring our torch and my tape recorder. And then we go right in. And I train my grandson I trained him earlier during the day of the tracks. I know here, I take him there, and at night I get him to lead us in up and down, get him to, and he can lead us, with the torch. He knows exactly where to find the track, and this is the sort of thing I get the feeling in.
And what's the purpose of the tape recorder then, Tawhao?
The tape recorder, I want my grandson to know what I'm saying to him while at that time in the bush, and different things I want him to do in the bush, and different trees I want him to name. So he named the trees, and they're all on the tape. And the waterfalls, I go to the waterfall here, and I said, now there's some mountain trout there, or raumahehe we call it. Raumahehe, they're in there. So I get him to have a look, and I tape him, and I could hear him. "Oh, here's one, Granddad," these sort of things. And then around about 11, 11:30, we go back home. I feel satisfied, and my grandson enjoyed it. And I play the tape to the family. And when his cousins come down from Auckland, he plays the tape to them. And they wanted to come and learn, so I bring them here, and this is where I do most of my training. So our young people are still with it. And it speaks of their ancestors. It's like they're sitting there with them.
That was A Feeling for the Forest, the second of two programs in which Tawhao Tioke talked about the bush law of the Tawhao people. The program was recorded and produced by Alwyn Owen for Radio New Zealand, a Spectrum documentary.